Welcome to NPC Overrider, where we challenge mainstream source code to develop independent thought, one user story at a time.
Between shows like America's Most Wanted, Forensic Files, and To Catch a Predator, we're all programmed to believe that men are the threat when it comes to sexual assault or crime in general. Men indeed make up the majority of perpetrators, yet we ignore the female offenders lurking beneath the surface. This line of thinking causes people to put their guard down when they leave their kids with female teachers, coaches, doctors, and counselors. It's also why boys don't babysit. Not only do we downplay sexual assaults between older women and younger boys, but we often celebrate them. Just consider the classic coming-of-age tale told in American Pie.
All right. I got some scotch.
Single malt?
Aged 18 years. The way I like it.
Mom?
Shipwreck?
Oh, hey, Stifler.
While the script suggests Finch is legally an adult, an inverse scene with Stifler's dad shacking up with a female high school partygoer would not fly. The same goes for The Graduate.
For God's sake, Mrs. Robinson. Here we are. You got me into your house. You give me a drink. You put on music. Now you start opening up your personal life to me and tell me your husband won't be home for hours.
So?
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
Although Dustin Hoffman's character Benjamin is 20 and Mrs. Robinson is in her early 40s, the film would have a different tone if the roles were reversed. You can argue they're just movies and it's all fun and games, but the 2004 film Birth went just a little bit too far with Nicole Kidman's character kissing her dead husband, who was apparently reincarnated into a young boy.
Things are not right. What is this? Infant kiss that sends my body tingling. I've never fallen for a little boy before.
That was disturbing, especially given that Kidman may be on one of those lists floating around out there. Yes, we know there are films with older males and younger females with inappropriate relationships, like Lolita, released in 1962, Fish Tank from 2009, and Manhattan in 1979, starring Meryl Streep. But generally speaking, we consider older men with younger girls as predatory and creepy, while we regard younger males hooking up with older females as an achievement. Online publications regularly post articles like Sexiest Sex Offenders of the Year or Grading the Newest Sex Scandal Teacher, and Van Halen used the idea to help define a decade with their 1984 hit, Hot for Teacher. But South Park called the hypocrisy for what it is in this 2006 episode.
Hey, he's totally underage. She's taking advantage of him.
You're right. We're sorry. This is serious. We need to track this student down and give him his Luckiest Boy in America medal right away.
On the rare occasions that female offenders made the news, such as Mary Kay Letourneau and Deborah LaFave did around the turn of the century, there were more media sensations than concerns about anything else. When Letourneau, a 34-year-old mother of four, married her victim upon release from prison, who was 12 at the time of the offense, Entertainment Tonight exclusively covered the wedding. Due to this cultural denial, you might be surprised to learn how many female teachers and faculty members are caught regularly, the conviction disparity between the two, and the unspoken damage predators inflict on future generations. According to a 2016 study, the percentage of recorded female sex offenders is debatable, with one analysis between 12 countries finding a small percentage of reported cases were perpetrated by women. In contrast, victim surveys suggest the actual number of female offenders is 6 times higher than reported figures. To specify, the U.S. Department of Education published a literature review of sexual misconduct in schools in 2004, finding that 9.6% of high school students have experienced some form of abuse. Between 7 studies, most offenders were male, while female offenders comprised between 4% and 43%. That's quite a contrast. Not surprisingly, 54 to 77% of victims were female and 23 to 46% were male, with results suggesting male victims are far more likely to self-report abuse than females, with boys being at 40% and only 4% chance of girls self-reporting abuse. Does this suggest female students are abused at alarmingly higher rates than we would assume? Are female offenders more of an issue than we might realize? In the book Culture of Denial, exploring professional perspectives on female sex offending, author Miriam S. Denov says there is evidence to suggest sexual abuse by females may be under-recognized via this dismissive attitude from victims and society overall. Unfortunately, there's no shortage of sample cases. Just last week in Los Angeles, a 43-year-old special ed teacher was charged with having sex with a 13-year-old student in her car. In September, Haley Clifton Carmack, 26, admitted in court to having sex with a 16-year-old boy. In July, Julie Rizzatello, 36, was accused of misconduct with a student in New Jersey, which comes after Allison Haveman Niedrich, another New Jersey special needs teacher, was taken into custody for assaulting a different student. Also, notice how my language and descriptions match the official media narrative of female offenders in general, as they quote-unquote have sex with these students, not raping or molesting them as we would expect if they were male offenders. Just run a search online. No matter when you watch this, there's guaranteed to be recent cases in your area. There might be more male sex offenders than female sex offenders out there, but how does sentencing stack up between the two? As you might have guessed, a 2013 study of 97 cases in New Jersey found men are more likely to go to prison or jail than women, and men are more likely to receive longer prison sentences overall. It turns out feminists don't demand equality on this one. Women in general are more likely to get lenient sentences, especially in cases where female teachers and male students appear to be more, quote, consensual to jurors. Last month in Missouri, ex-math teacher Haley Clifton Carmack, previously mentioned, was sentenced to 4 years in prison, with most of the time to be reduced to 3 months if she completes a sex offender rehab program, which she'll most certainly pursue. She's the one who admitted to having, quote, rough sex with a 16-year-old student while asking other students to serve as lookouts. Compare that to recent male teacher sex offenders like Jeremy Schobel, 33, of Philadelphia, who was convicted for posing as a teenage girl online to convince real teenage girls to send him inappropriate photos and videos. He got 30 years for that. He didn't even meet his victims in person, let alone assault them physically. And the situation is definitely messed up, and he should be arrested and punished for sure. But 3 decades for photos while another female teacher has, quote, rough sex with a student in school, leaving claw marks on him and using students as lookouts, she's only going to get a few months? If it seems female predation is on the rise, why? Is it because of things like the Me Too movement, where many women realize that people would basically believe anything they say? Due to our cultural denial, do female predators know that even if they are caught, they'll receive a minimal sentence? Or is it feminism in general? Not the feminism that demands another $1,000 off that new Subaru, but the ever-growing pressure for women to break from traditional roles. Be a girl boss, don't have kids, enjoy sexual freedom. Is that eroding women's outlook on life and influencing this dark behavior? With less marriage, are women in general lonelier, given that men are less willing to settle down thanks to feminism? Are these progressive attitudes coupled with increased drug abuse, whether it's legal or otherwise, and overall refusal to grow up and take responsibility, blurring the lines between childhood and adulthood? If nothing else, opportunities for misconduct are more accessible thanks to technology. Many of these cases sprout from simple texting or communicating through apps and social media. Whatever the cause or the manner, the generational damage is inevitable. While society tends to think that older female and younger male abuse doesn't harm male victims, there's plenty of evidence to suggest otherwise. Research shows abuse significantly impacts males just as much as it does with females, with issues such as PTSD, anxiety, depression, self-harm, inability to express emotions, rage, interpersonal issues such as feeling isolated, and trust issues. Don't forget, female sex offenders have no qualms with victimizing girls either, with some research suggesting that women are more likely to target female victims. Given female victims are less likely to self-report, coupled with the social denial of female offenders in general, the actual amount of abuse is likely far higher than we would expect. Unfortunately, many of these victims will continue the cycle of abuse, with 42% of sex offenders having experienced some form of abuse in their childhood. Sexual assault is an international pandemic, regardless of whether the offender is a female or male, teacher or not. According to the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, or RAIN, here are several warning signs that your student or child may be a victim of sexual abuse. Behavioral warning signs include excessive talk about or knowledge of sexual topics, keeping secrets or not talking, not wanting to be left alone with certain people, regressive behavior such as bedwetting or thumb-sucking, overly compliant behavior, trying to remove clothing to change or bathe. Emotional warning signs include changing eating habits, change in mood, or personality, decrease in confidence or self-image, excessive worry or fearfulness, chronic headaches or stomach aches, loss of interest in school, friends, or activities. If you suspect a child in your life may be experiencing sexual abuse, you can talk to someone who is trained to help. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 800-656-HOPE. That's 800-656-4673, or chat online 24/7 at rain.org. Well, that's going to be it for today. I'm your lead engineer, Greg. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully this week's update will help reprogram some of that cultural denial we have out there as far as female predators go. If you enjoyed today's user story, please set the like button to true. And if you're interested, hit the subscribe button. We'd sure love to have you on our development team. If you want to help save the NPCs, share this video with a friend. And if you have an idea for a future video, open a ticket in the comments section. But for now, it's about Beer 30. We're going to sign off. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you on the next release.